You know that feeling, right? You're reading something and you just get this sense, this gut feeling that it was written by an AI. Well, there's a really good chance it's because of one tiny, very specific punctuation mark. So let's dive into this little digital mystery, the strange case of the AI and its absolute obsession with the em dash.
I mean, just look at this sentence. It feels so familiar, doesn't it? The big words like multifaceted and tapestry, those are one clue. But the real dead giveaway is right there in the middle. Those two em dashes, they're basically an AI's calling card. It's gotten so recognizable that some people are actually avoiding em dashes in their own writing so they don't get mistaken for a robot.
And that's the big question here, isn't it? Why this one little punctuation mark? It's become this weird signature of AI writing, popping up in models from OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, you name it. But here's the thing. If you go looking for a solid answer, you'll find that nobody seems to agree on one. So to get to the bottom of this, we've got to put on our detective hats for a second. First, we need to round up the usual suspects, all those common theories that people throw around, and figure out why they just don't quite add up. Okay, first up, you've got the simple ones. Some people say, well, the em dash is just super versatile. And sure it is, but so are commas, so are parentheses, and they don't get this kind of VIP treatment. Then there's the other easy explanation. It's just copying human writing. But think about that. If it were a perfect copy, we wouldn't notice. The whole reason this is a thing is because everyone can tell the AI uses them way more than we do. Then you get the slightly more technical theory. Maybe it's about being efficient, about saving tokens. You can think of tokens as the little bits of data, words or parts of words that AI models use. But that theory doesn't hold water either. A comma is just as short, token-wise. And honestly, if the AI was really worried about being concise, it could probably just stop waffling on and on, you know? All right, so the easy theories are out, but what about something a little more sophisticated? This next lead, it seems really promising at first, and it takes us right into the belly of the beast, the final, crucial step in how these big AI models are actually trained. That final step is called reinforcement learning with human feedback, or RLHF. This is where AI companies hire tons of human testers to basically just chat with the AI all day. They rate its answers, they grade its responses, and all that feedback helps shape the AI's personality to be more friendly and helpful. For the big companies, a lot of this work is done in English-speaking African countries, particularly Kenya and Nigeria. And this leads to a pretty fascinating theory. We know for a fact that these human reviewers influence the AI's word choice. It's why models love words like delve and tapestry, because those words are more common in certain forms of African English. So the question is, could the same thing have happened with punctuation? Did the reviewers have a preference for em dashes in their own dialect and they rewarded the AI for using them without even realizing it? Well, this is where that cool theory hits a brick wall. When researchers actually went and analyzed a huge collection of Nigerian English writing, they found the exact opposite. Nigerian English uses way fewer em dashes than General English. We're talking more than 10 times less. So this lead, it's a total dead end. The influence had to be coming from somewhere else. Okay, so let's look at another crucial piece of evidence, because in any good mystery, the timing is everything. This whole em dash obsession, it didn't just appear out of nowhere. Let's look at the timeline. If you go back to GPT-3.5 from late 2022, it almost never used em dashes. But fast forward to the newer models, and they're obsessed. So what's the one huge thing that changed between then and now? What was different about the training data? Well, turns out the AI labs, who are always hungry for more high-quality text, started looking beyond the internet. The new ingredient in the AI's diet was millions and millions of newly digitized physical books. See, they'd pretty much scraped the whole internet, but to get even better, they needed more pristine, high-quality writing. And they found it on library shelves. They began this massive effort to scan books, which poured a completely new type of language into the training mix. And that right there brings us to the big reveal. This is the moment where it all starts to click. This is how we connect these dusty old books to the weird punctuation habits of the most advanced AI on the planet. And boom, here's our smoking gun. A historical study on punctuation shows that the em dash wasn't always used like it is today. In fact, its use peaked way back in the 1860s. Back then, it was about 30% more common than it is in modern writing. And after that peak, its popularity just kept on dropping. To really see what this looks like, check this out. Take a classic novel from that period, Herman Melville's Moby Dick. The number of em dashes in that one book is a staggering 1,728. 19th century literature was absolutely stuffed with them. So there it is, the old books theory. This is the most compelling explanation we have. State-of-the-art AI models use so many M-dashes because they were trained on a giant library of books from the late 1800s and early 1900s. The AI literally learned to write English from Victorian-era novelists, and it picked up their quirky punctuation style in the process.
Now, the old books theory is definitely our #1 suspect, but any good detective knows you can't just close the case yet. There are still a few loose ends, a few really interesting questions that linger.
So just to recap where we are, we've looked at 3 types of theories. The structural ones, like token efficiency, just don't really hold up. The human feedback, or RLHF theories, are still possible, but that specific one about regional dialects seems to be wrong. This leaves the training data theory, specifically the influence from all those old books, as the strongest explanation by far. But here's a fantastic question to chew on. If the AI really did learn its punctuation from 19th century authors, then why doesn't its writing sound more like Moby Dick? It's a really weird puzzle, right? The AI seems to have picked up this very specific punctuation habit, just a tiny piece of that old style, without adopting the old-fashioned vocabulary or sentence structure that went with it. And we can't completely throw out the human feedback angle yet. There's another, simpler RLHF theory. Maybe the human reviewers, no matter where they were from, just thought that sentences with M-dashes felt a little more conversational or well-structured, and so they rewarded the AI for using them. It's a piece of the puzzle that we can't really prove or disprove. And that leaves us with one last, big, thought-provoking question. This quirky little punctuation mystery, it really points to something much bigger. If our AI models have inherited a weird love for Victorian punctuation from their reading list, what else did they learn? What other hidden biases, forgotten social norms, or old-fashioned ways of thinking are buried deep down in their code, learned from a library full of books from over a century ago? Now that is the real mystery.